Okay, good afternoon. How you guys doing today? It's noon. Good to see everybody. Everybody can hear me okay? I was holding for just a minute because I'm at a satellite office I call the Money Lab outside of my home city. And it's a place I'm trying to convert to monetization here. And we had a train going by and a car in the parking lot with the horn going off. right as I was about to start this webinar. So it's good to see everybody. It's noon here in Tennessee. I see a lot of familiar faces. Number one, I see a lot of our coaching clients, and it's really, really good to see you. I believe coaching is engaging people in a set of systematic behaviors that allows them to do something tomorrow that they cannot do today. Okay, a coach doesn't coach one time. A coach coaches over a cycle of time. And I really believe it's that process of hearing something many, many times. That's why I'm such a big proponent for people being in my coaching programs. I always like to say, seeing me speak will open your mind. Reading my books will open your mind. But being coached by me over a cycle of time is where the true transformation can take place. Okay. And what I do is I have these big concepts. One of my big concepts, obviously, is everybody needs a coach in life. The reason we need coaches in our lives is because we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. And we have too much bias, too much prejudgment, too much assumption, too much bias toward our own ways of doing business. And sometimes we need an outside person to come along in your life and bring a new strategy, right? We need an outside person to bring a new structure. We need an outside person to bring what I call a little vujade, which is a fresh twist on an old way of thinking. Okay. And I've been in meetings all morning with talented people who have something of value, but they cannot quite figure out how to monetize that value. How many of you would say that rings a bell with you? Okay. Okay. You're a talented person. You have a demonstrated capacity. You'll hear me talk about today, but you're trying to figure out how to convert that know-how, that knowledge to monetization, to money, right? And that is really a specialized skill set that I have developed. So just earlier, I was working with a coaching company that sold for $10 million. They sold their intellectual property for $10 million many years ago. But that coaching company has been in decline over the last several years. And what I'm trying to do is reactivate that intellectual property and bring a fresh twist to an old way of thinking. And so that will start with, what is the concept? How are we going to introduce this to the market? How are we going to market it? How do we generate leads? And that company was generating, let's just say 12 to 15 leads a week. And what I want to do is come in and generate 30, 40, 50 leads, 1,000 leads a week for that business. Okay. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to coach for about 45 minutes. And then we'll take questions at the end. If you are not in one of my coaching programs, and by the way, just raise your hand. If you're currently in a coaching program with me, raise your hand so I can see all of the current clients that are here. So for all of you, right, we got a lot of clients that are here that we're working with in various capacities to help them do exactly this. I call it find, package, market, monetize. See the formula I'm using? We want to find our message. We want to package the message. We want to market the message. And we ultimately want to monetize the message, which is the exchange of money for value. Okay. So the action we're going to want you to take today from spending time with us is to, if you're not in a program with me, I want to encourage you to book a call with one of our coaches. And we have many of our coaches on here today. We'll be posting the link for you to just book a strategy call. And let's talk about what you're trying to do and how we are trying to help you move from A to B. Because how many of you are kind of frustrated enough to the point that you're a talented person, but you can't quite figure this out? Okay. And that is not going to change. I hate to let you in on some bad news, but that's not going to change until you until you get a better strategy, until you work with someone who knows how to do it. So throughout the webinar today, we're going to be posting a strategy link for you to book a strategy call to go, look, here's where I'm at today. Here's where I would like to be, right? I think about a guy named Chase Gruning, who was in our coaching program in the locker room. He had a coaching business doing about $38,000 when I started working with him. In his very first event, he did over $100,000 in sales. And that's because come up with a concept, marketed to an event, taught him how to do an offer. And the next thing you know, now he has a six-figure coaching business in less than really 2 months with me coaching him. Okay. And here's what he said to me. He said 2 or 3 months ago, I didn't even know how to do this. I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know what my concept was. I didn't know any of these things. And just through some coaching, we're able to take that. So I have no doubt that I can take a brand like yours and help that brand grow to a significant level. So we do that through 90-day sprints, which are 90-day programs with me. Many of you are in that. We do it through one-year programs called the Locker Room, or just to get in a room with somebody to see how to do it. I would encourage you to get a ticket to Activate, which is coming up September 26th through the 28th, because I watch some of you and you sit over on the sidelines. Okay. And then you take it, then it's like you're watching and you're watching and you're watching, but you're still getting the same result over and over and over. Travis Wallace, I was with my coach this morning. And you know what I said to my coach this morning? I said, I have pushed and shoved and elbowed this thing and got it as far as I think I can get it without the help of another person. So I would never tell you guys to go hire a coach without me having a coach. And that's exactly what I told my coach this morning. I'm like, look, man, I have muscled this thing as far as I can freaking muscle it. Now I need new strategy. Now I need a new way to get to this bigger number, right? And that's being humble. That's being hungry. That's being teachable. That's being coachable. I'm like, I ain't staying here. This is good, but I ain't staying here. I'm going there. Okay. And this is the place you ultimately have to get to in your life for anybody, for a guy like me to really help you. Okay. So if at any time during the day, our team will be posting that strategy link. Just book a call and say, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm at A and I'm trying to get to B. And I think Coach Burt is the guy who can help me do it. And let's get you into something that can help you move from A to B. Okay. All right. So here's the webinar that you're at today. It's called Monetize a Message. It's hard to monetize a message if you don't have a message. What if I told you that every major contract I have ever signed, every big strategic partnership I've ever done, every big play I've ever made started with someone seeing me speak on a message? Would you guys believe that? First big contract I signed with a $2.2 billion bank, Dave Witchard, COO saw me speak for 20 minutes. The position I took on the board of directors of a publicly traded company, you saw me take about a month ago, started with the CEO of that company seeing me speak. Okay. Me signing major deals with home builders back in the recession of 08 started with me speaking for free at events and people going, I want that dude to coach our people. So I want you to remember something you're going to hear me say throughout today's message, because I'm going to work you through a formula where there's no offer, there's no monetization. If I saw you today speak on social media, on Instagram, but there's nothing for me to buy from you, there's no way for me to engage with you, there's nothing for me to do with you, like, all I'm going to say is, man, I really like that dude. Some of you speak right now and you're getting on stages, and the only thing you're collecting at the end of the day is a pat on the back. And people are saying, hey, that was a good speech, man. That's a good talk. Good talk. When people tell you that's a good talk, that don't pay the bills. Okay. Saying great speech may make you feel good for a few minutes, but it don't, right? You're speaking to sell. You're speaking to activate. You're speaking, like I'm doing this webinar for you today to show you what I can do for you in your life. if you get into something with me. This is a way for me to show you. Right now, I'm speaking. This is called an online, right? I'm online or I'm offline. So the problem that people have that I see is they're not clear on what we're going to use two words interchangeable today. Number one, you don't have a clear message that you want to say to the world. There's a lot of confusion. It's like, who are you? Like, I believe everybody needs a coach in life. I believe a good coach can change your life. I believe those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. I believe in attracting business versus chasing it. I believe nothing happens until the prey drive is activated, right? Now, how many of you guys have seen me give that message somewhere on social media or in interviews or in podcast or somewhere over and over and over? like I wake up in the middle of the night going, everybody needs a coach in life, like right in the middle of the night. Like, so when you think about it, we first have to come up with a message. And then we've got to ask ourselves, how do we distribute this message with a frequency? One of the ways I choose to distribute my message is through an online message to people's phones in the morning, right? That's one way I distribute my message. Podcast, webinars, speaking engagements, strategic partnerships, licensing deals. Okay. So first we have to come up with the message. And I think a lot of people, I get it. It's hard to like choose which message do you want to bring to the world. I totally get that. But first we have to have a message. And I'm going to use another word here. We have to have a concept. We have to have a concept. And the concept you're going to see has got to solve a problem for people. And that's ultimately where the monetization takes place. Okay, so I'm going to kind of walk you through this. I wrote a book called The Perfect Concept on this. I wrote a book called The Making of a Coach, which shows you how I generate income from coaching or building a coaching business. Okay, so the problem is we got two problems. One, we're not clear in our message, and we got to get clear in our message. And number two, we got to get clear in how we're going to monetize the message. And I like to say, I speak, I coach, I train, I lead, I publish, I license, I do strategic partnerships, right? I convert commercial real estate plays into greatness factories. Some of you have seen me talk about my new concept, the confidence factories, which are physical places that kids go to learn confidence, right? Physical structures around the country, and I'm licensing those. That means people pay a licensing fee. They get access to my intellectual property. I'm trying to help them be successful. I'm really coaching that licensee and how they can make money. And people ask me, well, what is licensing? It's really renting or partnering with someone who knows how to do what you want to do. And there's a fee for that exchange. Does everybody see that? Okay. That is a form of monetization. Now, guess where those people came from? They saw me speak. And they go, I want to partner with that person. So our two problems I want you to write down right now as you're taking notes. Do you have a messaging problem? Like you're not clear on what your message is. And it doesn't matter to me if you're a financial advisor or you're in a blue collar industry, you own an air conditioning company or a heating and cooling company. What is the core message and concept you would like to share? Do you have a message problem? Number one. Or number two, do you have a monetization problem? Which means you have a message. You just don't know how to make money with the message. Now, Joe Detmer, I like to tell the story of I used to be a high school basketball coach, okay? And I taught physical education, okay? And I like to say advanced honors physical education. So nobody making fun of me here, okay? And I was a PE teacher, okay? Now, they paid me initially to teach. So I got a teaching salary. And then I was the women's basketball coach. And I got what's called a supplement. So now I'm making money in two ways. Everybody see that? Then the principal one day says, you know what? We don't have a golf coach. You're going to be the golf coach as well. And I'm like, I'm not even good at golf. He's like, I don't care. Babysit the kids. We're going to pay you an extra $1,000. I'm like, okay. So now I'm making money by teaching, being a basketball coach, and being a golf coach. Although I'm not even coaching the kids. I'm just taking them to the golf matches. All right. Then one day I go, you know what? I'm winning. We're going to call this a demonstrated capacity. Okay. I'm starting to inner engineer these kids. I'm using Stephen Covey's whole person theory, body, mind, heart, and spirit. I'm teaching them the 7 habits of highly effective people, principles of good. I'm using other people's material, and I'm using it to teach my kids, and it's working. And so my kids are playing harder, and there's intangibles, and they have discipline, and they have chemistry, and they have trust, and they have buy-in. And people will come watch my teams play and go, gosh, this is crazy. Like, how do you get your players to play like that for you? And I'm like, man, it's complicated. I'm using this whole person theory I learned under Stephen Covey, and I'm teaching good to great, and I'm teaching 5 dysfunctions of teams. And people said, man, teach me how to do that. And I said, I don't have time to explain it because I'm trying to win championships. And if you know anything about coaching, it's an all-consuming thing. I said, I ain't got time to sit down and tell you how to do this, okay? I'm going to write a book about it, and you can read my book. Now, you say, where does this fit into the story? Guess what the book is? A message. See, now, by writing the book, now I have a message. Guess what the message was? A good coach can change your life. That's the message. Who's coaching you matters. The better the coach, the better the team, right? And this is how I'm winning. And people in the United States, or really around the world, are fascinated with people who win at a high level. So it's like, okay, this is my message. Now I write a book. I have no idea what I'm doing. I publish it through Instant Publisher. It cost me a couple dollars a book. In those days, listen to this, you had to buy 1,000 copies. Today, you don't have to buy 1,000 copies. You could buy 5 copies. You don't have to buy 1,000 today and sit on inventory. You could buy 10 copies today. Well, now I've got a message. Now, once I have this message, guess what begins to happen? I'm like, man, I got to get out and talk about this. I got this book. I have no idea how to sell it. I need to get out and talk about this book. And I actually started asking people, man, you want me to speak at this event? And I called back to my university where I went to college, and I said, you want me to come in and speak to the students? And they're like, yes. Will you come in and speak to the students? I'm like, I will. And then I was calling people, and I would go speak for free. Remember, Jared Austin, I'm making money as a high school teacher. I'm making money as a basketball coach and a golf coach. But now I got a book, but I don't know how to make any money with the book. 90% of all books will never sell more than 5,000 copies. 90%. Okay? That's why when you hit 10,000 units of a book, like I did on Flip the Switch, it's like, boom, you've done something big now because you've really moved. I got a meeting with Price Pritchett tomorrow in Dallas, Texas. He sold 14 million copies of those little books that he's written. 14 million. Okay? And self-published, by the way. He didn't go through a publishing company, right? So do you know the profit margins on those books? If he's selling those things at $10 a book, he's probably keeping 8 off every book on 14 million units. Like, that's some serious money off a book. Now, but most people will never do that, guys. So now I got a message, and I'm out there giving the message, and I would go give the message to a group of like the Exchange Club or the Rotary Club or wherever they had people. And people would say, will you come? Man, I really love this message today. Will you come speak to my people? And I would go, sure. Like, what does that look like? And it's like, well, how much would it cost me? How many of you have got asked a question over the last X number about how much it would cost to work with you? How many of you have been asked that question? Okay. How many of you struggle with that question? See? In those days, I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, I own this company, small company. I want you to come in and speak to my people and I said, how long? He said, 3 hours. He said, how much is it going to cost me? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, $350. And he said, done. And I'm like, $350? Now I'm making $100 an hour to give a message. How much was I making as a basketball coach? 20 something cents an hour, working 80 hours a week. Now I've just made $300 in an hour. And I'm like, man, this is good. Now I got a message. Okay. Then I started giving the message more and more and more. Now, let me show you how this turned into big money. So Dave Witcher, I'm speaking in West Tennessee once to a group for a day. They paid me $1,500 for 6 hours speaking. Today I charge probably 40 or 50 grand for that. And in those days, it was $1,500 for a full day. And on the break, The CEO of the company came to me and she said, look, we love you. Me and my husband love you. We want you to coach all of our people. And I said, what does that look like? Okay, pay close attention, Sharon. She says, we're going to pay you $144,000. We want you to coach for 1 week a month. And we want you to go to all of our nursing homes. She ran nursing homes. You guys ever try to motivate people in nursing homes, folks? That's what I was signing up for. But I didn't care because they were paying me $12,000 a month to motivate their people. Okay. So now I've gone from making $350 to now I'm getting asked to go speak and they're going, we'll pay you 6 figures to go do this. Now, where did that 6 figures come from? Where did it start? What was the genealogy? Okay. So I want you to write this down. Number one, I had a demonstrated capacity. I want you to think right now, what is your number one demonstrated capacity that is proven that you have helped somebody do? You could do it in your sleep. See, Rod Williams, it was natural for me to go in there and motivate those people. That's what I've been doing my whole freaking since I was 15 years old, motivating, activating Pray Drive. It was so easy for me to go in those places because I had so much more energy than they did. I had so much more drive than they did. And it's like, when I walk in, it's like, boom, this dude gets everybody motivated. What they were really paying me for was to keep people motivated, keep people upbeat, keep people playing offense, keep people having a good attitude. Right. And I'm like, this is the big revelation I had, man. People will pay a lot of money for good energy. They'll pay a lot of money for somebody that's got a good attitude. They'll pay a lot of money for something because the people showing up for work there in those nursing homes, guess what? They didn't have good attitudes. They had bad attitudes, which turned into bad customer service, which turned into fines from the government, which turned into problems, which turned into whatever. So they're like, that dude right there can help us. So if I ask you today, and I said, I got $500,000 in my pocket. I got a big problem that I need to solve. Why would I give that money to you? What demonstrated capacity have you shown that I would pay big money for? See, if you could come into my coaching business tomorrow and help me pick up $10 million more, that would solve a big problem for me. And if you said, look, I'd like to keep 20% of it. You keep 2, I keep 8. You know what I'd say? Go for it. If you could say, I'm going to take your next book and I'm going to sell 1 million copies of it, coach, I want 20% of the royalties, I'd say, go for it. You know, the first question I'm going to ask you, have you ever done this for somebody else before? Like, have you actually grown a coaching business by $10 million? Have you actually, like, what is the number one capacity? Now, there's a caveat to this, because just because you can solve a problem does not mean that's the problem you are supposed to be solving. Did everybody hear me say that? Just because you could do something doesn't mean that, right? Just because Travis can train people doesn't mean Travis is supposed to be training people for $50 an hour because he could do it, right? Now, if a person says, I'll pay you $1,000 an hour to train me, or I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and I want to go into a deep focus training and I want to be the best in the world. Now that's a different problem to solve than a person says, man, I just want to get in a little bit better shape. Right? Right? Because there's only so much money that dude who wants to get in better shape can give you. Where he goes, man, it's at the top of my limit here on what I can pay you. Okay. So number one, when you're coming up with the message, the first thing I look at is I look at your demonstrated capacity. What is it that you've done? See, I've built championship teams. I've written best-selling books. I've built a multi-million-dollar coaching company. Like, you know, I'm just now getting into commercial real estate. I'm just now building greatness factories, right? But I know I built one. So my objective is to make that one as successful as it can be. So I could take it to somebody else and go, you want one in your city. Trust me, because this thing can kick off cash. Does everybody see where I'm going with this? Okay. You don't want just going to come up with a message because you like it. You think it's cute. It's like, oh, that's a good message. I think I'm going to write a book on this message. You need a message that, like, think of it this way. You could be the number one expert in the world at the message you're giving. I would put you on stages in front of 10,000 people because there ain't nobody in the world better at that one thing than you. See, this was a mistake I made for the first 6, 7 books that I wrote. I would just come up with a concept or a message, and I would just write a book on it. And it really took me to book number 18 until I wrote the book on Prey Drive. It's like, that is who you are. You are Prey Drive. Is everybody with me? It's like that book is in perfect alignment with who I am as a person. Okay. And it took me a long time of writing books to get to that concept. It's like, this is the best concept. Now I'm thinking about writing my next major published book. So it's like, what do I want to say? What am I an expert at? Listen to this one. How could I separate myself from Tony Robbins and Cardone and Elliot and Brad Lee and whoever else that you watch? How can I be so different than them that people go, that's the reason you go to that dude, because he is the best at this. You see where I'm going? Okay. See, now I'm thinking different than I used to be, Kelly. Now I'm thinking separation. Now I'm thinking, where could I beat these guys at? Where could I get a slight edge? Where could I beat a John Maxwell? Where could I be different? So when I go to write a book now, it's like, all right, what do I love doing? What message do I want to give to the world? Who would buy this message? And here's the big one, Steve Miller. What would they do next? Am I going to do boot camps, retreats, coaching programs? See where I'm going? Now I'm starting to build out, like, see, before I even write the book, Efren, I'm thinking 3 steps ahead. Like, all right, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to build a whole coaching program around it. So if you were coaching me, Dr. B, and I told you my number 1 program is the locker room. If you were coaching me and I told you my number 1 program is the locker room, would you not tell me to write a book that would lead people to join in the locker room? Yes or no? There should be direct alignment between the book and the program. So Josh, when I'm stepping back now, I'm like, all right, what is my message? But I don't start with the message. What do I start with? What is my demonstrated capacity? What's the number 1 thing I could be the number 1 expert in the world on? Based on my unique past, my unique experiences, my unique mentors. I start with the demonstrated capacity. There's a direct alignment between because where the money's made, Jeffrey Gordon, is not in the book. The money is made from people reading the book going, I got to work with that dude. Okay. How do I work with him? What program can I join of his? Okay. So you don't want to write a book over here and have a message over here, but your coaching program's over here. Okay. So we start with demonstrated capacity. Now, I want you to type into the chat box right here what you think your number 1 demonstrated capacity is. What do you think it is if I ask you today? Remember, I have $500,000 in my pocket. So John Nowak, I got 500 grand in my pocket. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I want to give it to you, man, because you're going to solve a big problem for me based on your demonstrated capacity. And the way I found John Nowak is I saw him speak because he wrote a book, right? Everybody see that? It's like he's got a message. I like the message. I'm interested. And I want to walk up to John, and we're in Springfield, Missouri. And I want to walk up to John when I'm done and going, how do I work with you, man? That is where the monetization takes place. Okay. Everybody picking up what I'm putting down? So when you're posting on social media, when you're doing podcasts, when you're doing interviews, when you're talking to people, okay, what do you need to be saying with that message that people go, I got to work with that dude? Like, I went in the studio the other day and I told my video guy, I'm like, look, I need to be talking about packaging. I need to be doing short teaching sessions behind the camera on packaging. That is my skill set. It doesn't just need to be motivational. I don't need to be just pumping out motivational reels because I want a person to go, that dude's the best in the world at packaging ideas for money. Okay. And motivational videos don't lead a person to know that. Can we all agree here? So it's like, if we're going to have a social media strategy, the social media strategy should be, let me show people what I'm great at, so they'll come to the conclusion that they have to work with me. It's not just get on there and just talk. Okay. So number one, you have a demonstrated capacity. Number two, and this is going to get a lot of people, very few people convert their demonstrated capacity to a methodology. So I'll ask people when they tell me what they're great at, Benjamin, I'll go, have you codified this? Now, what does that mean? When I say codify, some people say codify. What am I really saying there? Somebody come off mute and tell me what that means. Anybody know? Anybody want to? I may have muted everybody, so I don't know.
Have you systematized the process?
Exactly right. So I buy these notepads where you can draw on. They're really for artists. But see, this is me codifying concepts. See, what I do is I create a concept in the middle. This was called NBO, next big opportunity. And I'll draw 7 circles around it. And I'll go, okay, this is how you find your next big opportunity. There's 7 things you got to do. Boom, 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 boom. Now, this is where those turn into 7 chapters of a book. Those turn into 7 chapters of a workbook. Those turn into an ebook. Those turn into a podcast. Those turn into a speaking engagement. Those turn into a boot camp. And I'll ask people, I'm like, tell me what your demonstrated capacity is. And they go, well, that's a good question. Like, I'm not real sure what my primary skill is. And I'll go, okay, now show me your method. How many of you would agree what you're really selling is a method? You're selling a methodology. You have a demonstrated capacity. You know how to do something. You are teaching me how to do it. So you got this concept, message. You are now packaging that message into a very clear methodology. So I see people all the time. It's like this morning with that coaching group. They don't have a content problem. They've got hours and hours and hours of online content. They had a coaching company that sold for $10 million. Like, they don't have a content problem. What problem do they have if they've codified the concepts? What problem do they have? Anybody know? They have a packaging, marketing, monetization problem. So if you're very talented, but you've never codified your method, now you haven't packaged your method into something that I can absorb. Everybody see that? A workbook, a book, a webinar, a video. See, I could take this right here, this webinar today. Listen how easy this would be. I could take this webinar, send it to a publishing company and say, package this up into a book. And I don't even have to write the book. They just take the webinar, take my voice, transcribe it, boom. And I can have a book called Monetize Your Message by tomorrow, just based on this webinar. That's how easy writing a book on called Monetize Your Message could be, literally. Okay? Because some of you make it so complicated. It ain't that complicated, folks. You have a demonstrated capacity. Demonstrated capacity goes to codification. Codification goes to packaging. Packaging then goes to marketing. Marketing then goes to monetization. Everybody see the formula I just used? Okay? So I got a message. I got a method. I then begin to move that method into something that people can absorb. So I always start with just a notebook. And I go, okay, if I was going to teach Brant how to do this, what would I do? What steps would I put this in? And I would put this into these 5 steps, these 7 steps. Okay, I use 7 a lot. 7 is the number of completion in the Bible. I don't use 6. I don't have 6 steps. I typically have 7. So I always go, there's 7 steps to this. Okay. And then I start packaging this up and I go, okay, this is going to be a book. And here's what I'm going to call this book. Do I call it the NBO, next big opportunity? Do I call it the level 10 opportunity? Do I call it how to fall in love with your future? Do I call it? And then I start playing around with these concepts and I go, which of these concepts could I see myself on stage speaking to thousands of people to? And I test it. Now, how do I test concepts? How many of you follow me enough to see me testing a concept? And it doesn't seem like I'm testing, but I'm testing on social media. See, I talk about it. How to fall in love with your future. Man, this week I did a coaching session on how to fall in love with your future, right? The NBO, the next big opportunity. Man, this is how you find the next big opportunity. I talk about it and then I gauge and go, okay, this one is sticking. This concept is bigger than that concept. This is stronger than that. And I'll ask people, what do you think about this concept? And they go, you know, and I go, that ain't it then. You want a concept. Jim Collins used to say, you want to create a concept where it just grabs you by the throat. The concept grabs you by the throat. It's like, boom. Now that is a good concept. First thing I do when I come up with a concept is I go to Amazon and I see if anybody's written a book on that concept. Is anybody talking about this concept? Okay. Now we've got a demonstrated capacity. Now we're beginning to codify. Now, here's what people tell me. They go, man, I really just struggle to put this on paper. Like it's in my brain. I could do it over and over and over. But for some reason, I just can't get it out of my brain and onto paper. How many of you have ever said that before? It's like, I got it, but I can't put it into paper. I want you to simplify it. And I want you to pretend that there's 7 chapters of the book. Each of those chapters is a big concept. So I've got my major concept, how to fall in love with your future. Subtitle, boom. Okay. Chapters. There's 7 ways I'm going to show you how to fall in love with your future. Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I'll use another word here. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And under each chapter, I have 3 supporting concepts. So I'll go, here's a great story to tell right here. Okay, here's a concept right here under that. See, now I'm starting to codify. So when people ask me, how do you write a book on a weekend? Or how do you write a book in 1 or 2 days? It's like, hey, I had a flash of inspiration. I've got a concept. I sit down and I just go to work. Boom, 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 boom. Here's 7 ways I would teach somebody to do it. Then I tell 3 stories underneath it. Then I got a chapter. Then I got a chapter. Then I got a chapter. Then I got a chapter, which could become a boot camp, which could become a workbook, which could become whatever. Okay. All right. So I make it simple. Now, here's where we get into monetization. And then I'll take questions here at the end so you can ask me all of these. Obviously, these are things I coach people on. This is what I coach people on in the locker room, in the 90-day sprint. If you come to a boot camp with me, you know, where you spend two days with me, I kind of go deeper into this, where you come out with clarity. But to me, all of that doesn't matter, what I just told you, if you can't figure out how to generate income with it. Okay, you could have the best book in the world if you don't know how to sell it. It's not the best written book that sells, it's the best marketed book that sells. Okay, so now we're going to get into monetization. So now I've got a concept based on my demonstrated capacity. I've got a method that can solve a real problem, right? I've codified it. Now we're getting into monetization. Okay, now I need to ask myself, is this a problem that people would pay money to solve? Okay, if Dave Witcher says, I'm going to write a book on how to get an insurance person from $0 to $100,000 in 90 days. Okay, now he may go, this is a great idea. Or I'm going to create a program for how to get from $0 to $100,000 in 90 days. And it all sounds good, Tim, until the agents who don't have any money can't pay for it. Then he's like, okay, they don't have $5,000 to give me because they haven't made their first $10,000. You see where I'm going? And this is what I found out when I left coaching. When I left coaching, I go, I'm going to go back and coach college coaches. And so I signed a deal with Vanderbilt. I signed a deal with Ole Miss. I was about to sign a deal with Kentucky. These are major SEC schools, guys. And they would say to me, look, biggest budget we got, coaches, we could pay you $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000. And I'm like, what? Like, that's all you have to give me? And here's what they would say. We're paying the head coach $1 million a year, $2 million a year to coach. Why do we need to bring you in? They should be able to do this. So although it was a problem, they didn't have the money to give me. See, a lot of people try to go into the school system and get money. And I go, well, who's going to pay you? Is the kid going to pay you? Is the parent going to pay you? Is the school system going to pay you? And here's what I always hear. And Kelly and I have gone down this path. Oh, there's millions of dollars of funding in schools. Do you know how hard it is to get that funding? Like, there may be millions of dollars of funding, but man, it's all political, and this person's doing this and this person's doing that. And it ain't easy to get access to those millions of dollars unless you have a key connection. So it looks like, oh yeah, we'll go over here and get into the kid coaching business and we'll make millions of dollars. Well, it's not as easy as that. Okay. So it's like, who's going to write the check? And we call that the economic buyer. So the question I want to ask you right here is, who is the true economic buyer for your method? Sullivan asked it this way: who would write you the largest check for your concept and for your method? Is it niche? That means it's a small group of people, right? Is it big? Is it wide? Like when I wrote Pray Drive, Flip the Switch could be for all kinds of people. People already have Pray Drive but lost it. People who are trying to get it, like person of interest, big concept. Okay. Does your concept and message solve a real problem for people? Okay. Who are you trying to attract? Let me give an example. If I was trying to attract a real estate agent doing between $2 and $10 million, the concept may be, how to go from $2 million to $20 million as a real estate agent. So you're attracting people. Like when I'm running ads right now, the ads say, are you making $250,000 and above, but you feel stuck and static and you can't get to another level? If so, click this link. See, it's very specific. It's not like, hey, everybody needs a coach, man. You got to just go get a coach out there. It's going to be good for you, because we could attract people who don't have the money to give us, no matter how much they love Coach Burr. You see where I'm going? So you got to get specific. It's like, this concept, this message is for these people. Okay. Now, I'd heard this week. The most expensive private club in the United States is called the Big Sky. It's called the Yellowstone Club. It's in Big Sky, Montana. You have your own private fly fishing. You got your own private golf courses. You got your own ski slopes. It's all private. Each lot in there is $12 million to buy a lot. $12 million. That's before you build the house. The membership fee is $500,000 a year. Now, here's the interesting part. Even if you could afford the $12 million and build a house that's probably $5 to $10 million and pay the $500,000 fees, you can't get in unless you're invited. Now, when you think about that, does that show you a business model? A, we take everybody. B, we take selected people who really want to play at a higher level. Well, if that's the case, then you got to write concepts that attract those people. You got to speak to those people, not everybody. Okay. Now, Joe's been in the mortgage business X number of years. I've coached at least 55 mortgage companies. I'm sitting with the guy this past week, right? Steve Miller brought a guy in, and we're sitting there having that conversation. And at this point in my life, I'm like, I only want to work with stone cold killers, man. It's just who I am. It's where I am in my life. I do not want to work with people who dabble. I want to work with people who are serious, and we can go make a lot of money together, millions of dollars. Okay. So it's like, what I'm looking at through a prism is like, okay, who do I want to work? Who is a perfect fit for me? And that's what I want you thinking. So does your concept solve a problem that people would actually pay money for? Now, I want you to go into the future a little bit, and I want you to pretend that you're building out products and services around the concept. What products and services would you like to build out? Now, when I first started writing books, a guy came by and he said, look, don't think in terms of writing one book, coach. He said, think in terms of having a library of books. He said, what are all the kind of books you want to write? I said, man, I want to write a book for coaches. I want to write a book on personal development. I want to write a book on leadership. He said, put those in the library. Picture yourself having a library of books, and the books solve problems for people, but the books are just advertisements for your other products and services. Okay. So the money could be made not on the book, but on the products and services from the book. Okay. So if Kylie Ray on here says, look, I want to be known as one of the top hospitality people in the world, she could write a book that people could read that would bring awareness up of hospitality and use the book as an advertisement for her consulting services. Everybody see that? Because they may not be thinking about it until she talks about it. Okay. Now, once I have my product suite, and my product suite for me is speaking, coaching, training, right? Boot camps, retreats, conferences, strategic partnerships, venture coaching deals. Once I have this product suite, now, and my core product is the locker room. 1 year residency with me teaching you how to monetize, me teaching how to grow the business at a quantum leap level. That is my core product. And I go, okay, you could be in that program at 25K for a year, or you could, it's called a collapsible offer, or you could be in a program for 90 days. And the 90 days is 5,500. It's 1/4 of the price. It's 1/4 of the year. And you do a 90-day sprint with me. Now, if you can't do the 90 days with me, you can come down to a 997 level with me. And what that does is it gets you in the game, and you get all of my courses, my vault, all of those things, morning message from me 5 days a week. Now, then I go, well, if you want to come spend 2 days with me, you can. I'll be in Houston, Texas on Thursday. You can pay to buy a ticket to come spend a day with me in Houston. Everybody see that's called a collapsible offer. That is a product suite. Then I go, well, I got books, I got courses, I got online programs. These are all part of what I'm talking about today. Now, once we have our product suite, we move to 2 more things, and then we'll take questions. We move to marketing of our product suite. Okay. Now, I used to think, man, I'll be a great coach. And if I'm just a great coach, we'll pick up a lot of business. And it is true. By transforming people's lives and really moving them from A to B, you're going to get referrals. But you'll never grow a business at a hyper rate off referrals. So I had to learn, I need to be in the marketing business. And it was Ed Milet, I think, who said this to me. He said, Michael, this ain't business. This is show business. You got to learn to market your products and services. So I've got my concept. I've packaged my concept through codifying it. I put it into products and services. Now, guess what my primary job is? I mean, how many of you are here today because we marketed this webinar to you? And I talked about it on my social media, and we hit it to a database of 60,000 people. And I put it on, right? And I'm talking about it, and I'm marketing it, and you're here. And this allows me to showcase my skills to you and how I can help you make money with your message. Everybody see that? So this is a marketing event. What we're doing right here, this is marketing. Me showing you versus telling you. Okay, so now I've got to now I've got to get in the business of marketing. I got like, okay, how do I get this message out to the market? I'm going to get it out through social media. I'm going to get it out through Instagram. I'm going to get it out through my database. I'm going to get it out through speaking engagements. I'm going to get it out through meetings. I'm going to get it out through Zooms. I'm going to get it out through paid ads. Like, I need to get this out to the world. Okay, and all of this seems easy, but it's not as easy as you think it is. And if it was, everybody would be doing it. Now, how many of you have watched me coach or speak or whatever, and in your brain, you go, oh, that's easy, man. What he does, got to be easy. How many of y'all have ever said it to yourself before? How many of you said, I could do what he does? I could do what he does. Man, I go out there and build a multi-million-dollar coaching company because that's easy. It's like me watching You know, Kenny Chesney at a concert going, shoot, run around on stage, sing a few songs. That's easy. I could do that until I paid to sit up front and watch him sing. And I go, I can't do that. It ain't easy, which is why so many people struggle with actually doing what I'm showing you today. Okay. I got to create leads. I got to follow up on leads. I got to convert leads. And it's a whole lot easier selling an insurance policy than it is selling a coaching program, folks. I can assure you of that. Okay. So we got to wrap this up by doing this. Once I get a client, so I found my message, I packaged and codified my message, I marketed my message, I developed a product suite around my message. Now, once we get our clients, what's the number one thing we really need to do with those people? We need to transform. We need to be in the transformation business. We need to move people from A to B. Imagine if I came to you and you transformed my whole life, like you really changed my life. Imagine how I'm going to talk about you. Imagine how I'm going to feel about you. Imagine what I'm going to tell other people about you. Imagine the publicity I'm going to get you. So once you get a client, your whole job is to help them move from where they are to where they would like to be. Okay. And that is ultimately what engagement is after the sales. Like, get in and dig in with me. And I'm going to get you to another frequency. But you got to get in and do the work, man. This is a symbiotic relationship between you and I. Now, at the end of the day, guys, that's the whole cycle. I come up with a concept. I codify it. I package it. I market it. And I monetize it through products and services that people purchase. Okay. Now, I know this seems like a big concept. It's hard to learn in an hour. A lot of times I've coached people for, a year, 2 years. It's not something you just get. Okay. In like a second or an hour. This is something that a lot of it's got to be extracted from you. Then we got to show you how to do it. Like, there is a process to me really teaching people how to do what I've done. No different than if I wanted to sell your products and services. I wouldn't learn it in an hour. It would be like, I need to go get amongst it and figure out how to do it, which is why I say, look, man, if you're trying to figure out how to do this, you got two options here. Do it on your own and take years to do it, or let somebody like me who's already done it help you do it. And we could do it so much faster than you trying to do it on your own. Okay. So just post a link of the strategy call. And if you want to do a strategy call with one of our team members, or if you even want to talk to me, if you're serious and you want to talk to me, just tell my team members, look, I really want to speak to Coach Burt about what I'm trying to do. And I'd be happy to talk to you about how to do what you're trying to do. Okay. And I'm still one of the only coaches in America, and I stand by this, that'll actually call you and talk to you. Okay. About what you're trying to do. Okay. All right. Let's get into some questions and answers here. Please share one tidbit to frame the stage to assert dominance and certainty when sharing your offer. Sharing the offer, that's a great question. There is a whole science and psychology behind making an offer. How many of you have ever been coached in making an offer? See? Very few people have been coached in how to pre-frame, embed, and actually make a real offer. This was foreign to me until I spoke at 10X. And I thought I did a great job at 10X. We generated $250,000 in the first hour of me speaking at 10X. And then I saw Russell Brunson generate $3 million in the same hour. And Cardone said to me, man, you're great on stage, but you have got to learn how to make an offer. And that woke me up. It's like, okay, there's a science to this. Like, I need to be coached on this. So I went and got trained by one of the top coaches in the world in how to make an offer, how to pre-frame, how to embed, how to invite, how to use demonstrated capacity in the talk, how to get a person to make a buying decision. Like, it's not like just raw ability. There is a science to this. So if you don't learn that part, then you never can do it. Now, can I teach it to you in answering a question? No, I can't, because there's too much to it to teach you in one answer on how to do this. It has to do with coming up with how you're going to pre-frame. What's the purpose of the talk, by the way? The purpose of the talk is to create enough tension in the prospect so the prospect wants to take action. So how could I do that? Sharon, here's what I could say. How long do you stay where you are before you get somebody, before you let a pro really help you do it? How long do you be a level 10 person stuck at a level 4 level? How long do you have dreams of doing something, but you're hitting a plateau? How many of you, when are you going to recognize that you have taken yourself as far as you can take yourself on your own? Okay. Now, let me show you how pre-framing would be. When I wrote book number 18, I wanted it to be a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And I want to go Rory Vaden. Rory Vaden launched Ed Milet's book. I called Ed Milet, and Milet said Rory Vaden launched the book. And so I called Rory Vaden, and they said he's booked up. He don't have any time to meet. And I said, well, tell him Coach Burt wants to work with him. And then he said, well, it's $18,000 for 3 hours, okay, to work with him. And I go, okay, let's do it, because that's how bad I want it to be a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Like, I'll make a lot more money than 18 grand. But what if I'd stopped and said, I need to think about it? What if he come back to me and said, Coach, are you sick of watching other people not as talented as you hit that bestseller list? Are you tired of writing books that don't hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list? Like, are you ready to get into the big girl and the big boy league? And if you are, this is what we got to do. We got to get you in a room, because clearly you've done this 18 times and you hadn't figured this out. So would you like to keep trying to do it on your own? And maybe you do it, maybe you don't. Or would you like the help? Would you like my help with this? Everybody see how I just pre-framed that? Look at how I created tension right there. Like, would you like to stay where you're at, or would you like somebody to help you? So one way of doing this is like here's how I would pre-frame and say to you guys, okay, you've heard me coach on how to monetize a message. You guys know I've generated probably 30 or $40 million over the last X number of years doing this. If you would like to do this at a higher level, would you like my help with this? Or would you like to just keep doing what you're currently doing and going, shoot, I could do this. I could write books. I could speak on stages. Would you like my help with this? Or would you like to just keep doing it the way you're currently doing it? See, that's one way to pre-frame and create attention in people's lives. But that's actually how I feel. That's how I feel. I'm like, man, what do you want me to do? I can't help you until you do something. And I can give you 100 testimonials of people I've worked with that have done it. So it's like, what is keeping you from doing it? I get it. I get it. Okay. All right. That's a good question. Now, let me ask a question of a few people on here. Travis, what ultimately caused you to make a decision and go, man, I want Coach Burt to work with me?
I mean, you kind of just hit on it. You get tired of getting to a specific spot in life and, hitting your head on that ceiling and realizing that, it's your strategy. And you've helped me so much already. And just by talking to you and going to the boot camps, or just understanding that, like, you have the product. It's just your strategy is not going to be able to get you where you want to get to. So all about getting that vehicle and the right vehicle to give you a chance.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you while I'm on here, Coach. I'm actually reading this book. It's called Selling the Invisible.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Maybe I heard you say I got it from somebody. And I wanted you to speak on that, because a lot of people were writing like what their service was, and a lot of it was invisible. It wasn't something that you could actually. I know we talk about books a lot and writing. That, like, what is your advice on, like, because you're selling something that is not physical. Like, how do you make somebody understand? It is invisible, but making sure somebody understands that you can do it.
Yeah, what you're really selling is a future.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the business you're in. You're selling a future self that is better than your current self. But there's a discomfort for people, because I'm coaching Travis right now, and I think about how to help him sell what he sells, which is reinvention, which is transformation, physical transformation, mental transformation. What's ultimately going to happen when they transform their body, that Travis helps them with, is they're going to be like a whole new person. Their confidence is going to be at an all-time high. Their swag is going to be at an all-time high. Their self-discipline is going to be at a much higher level. Now, all of those are invisible, intangible. It's like you're selling me a future self that I can't even see. And I figured this out, Travis, about being in this business for a long time. It's not that they don't trust you. They don't trust themselves. They're like, this is going to be hard, man. And I tried this before and I quit. I tried 75 hard and I quit on day 3. There ain't no way I could work with that dude right there. That's what they're thinking. You ever hear Price Pritchett talk about the villain voice and the hero voice? And that villain voice starts, it's like, I want to do it. I want to do better. I want to do it. You know, it ain't about the money. I can't tell you how many people tell you this. It ain't about the money with me, man. I got the money, right? So with you, the same thing is happening. It's like, I want that future self, Travis, but I know I got to get uncomfortable to have that future self. So in your packaging, you got to find a way to say, and I see you do testimonials. This dude started here. What I'd like to see those dudes do, probably a strategy for you, is let them talk and go, you know what? Let me tell you where he really transformed me. He transformed my mind. He transformed my discipline. And I'm a better man because of what that dude did with me. They can see the physical, but there's so much more happening in a person when you transform their body. So it's like, how do we measure confidence? You know, how do we measure chemistry? How do we measure trust, buy-in, discipline? It's like, you know, so I think that's what the stage you're in right now is how many different ways can you show a person that transformation outside of the physical transformation? How many of you selling invisible, by the way? You're selling a future. You're selling an enthusiasm. You're selling an energy. You're selling an excitement. You're selling that this place is going to be so much better off, man, with me. You're selling what Wallace D. Wattles called the impression of increase, right? When I'm with you, I feel better about me. See, I go back to Kylie. Kylie's got this skill set of where she, you know, worked for major, you know, hotel chains, customer service, high-end luxury. Everybody needs what you have. You got to convince them that there's a direct correlation between this and money. This is how you're going to make more money when people come to the Greatness Factory and they feel a certain way. And because everybody says, well, yeah, we need customer service training and we need training like that. But that's not what you're selling. You're really selling that, hey, because of this, you're going to get increase. You're going to get repeat business. You're going to get better referrals. You're going to get higher testimonials. You're going to get people that every time they come, they're going to stay at this hotel because of this experience. So you're not really selling the training. You're selling the increase as a result of the training. See, I tell my people on my team, I'm like, quit selling a coaching program. You're not selling a coaching program. What you're selling is a future that's way bigger than their current position. There's not a person that I coach that don't say the same thing. Man, that dude's got me thinking way bigger than when I came in. I mean, there's not one person that's come to my boot camps and my lodge or Greatness Factory who didn't say the same thing. I'm thinking so much bigger than when I came and spent time with Coach Burt, right? It's like my brain's like this. I came in like this. And as soon as you say out of your mouth, man, this is hard to sell. See, it's so funny, Travis, that book that you had that I recommended got me to write a book that I'm about to finish called How to Sell a Bigger Future. And I start that book off by saying, listen to this, Kawana, I start that book off by saying, have you ever said to yourself, man, this is hard to sell? Because I've said that before. Man, it's hard to sell coaching. Gosh, it's hard to sell coaching. You can sell freaking pest control. You can sell air conditioning units. You can sell mortgages. You can sell, man, it's just hard to sell coaching. That thought takes you to the sewer cycle. Because now it's like, whoa, I'm all tightened up. It's like, man, it's so hard to sell. You got to change that. And you got to go, how do we sell this better? How do I articulate my skill set better? How do I articulate my God-given talents better? How do I show the world that I'm a must-have versus a nice-to-have? That's what I need to be selling. Okay. So the way I do that is through messages. So if Jason Elias has got the concept, by the way, I wear that hat almost every day, Jason. I got it in my car right now because when I go out running and walking, I'm wearing your modern day Don. I am a modern day Don. And it's like, how do you sell that? The way you sell it is, hey, man, here's what's going to happen to your life when you understand this. Here's what's going to change in your life. Because what Jason has is a very sincere nature about him. Like when he talks to me, he's like, I want you to make sure, I want you to understand, that I respect you. And I appreciate that. Now, if it's in his brain, he now has to take it out of his brain. And how do you teach me to have to think like that? How do you teach me to be that respectful of people? How do you teach? See, that's what you're teaching. Like, teach me the principles of what it means to be a modern day Don. Package it up. Is it boot camps? Is it one-day events? Is it a book? Is it Audible? Is it just videos? Is it? See, now we get into how we're going to make money. You have the concept. Now we package it. Now we market it. Now we need to monetize it. Okay, everybody see that? I'm about to come out with a whole clothing line, like merchandise that has all of my sayings on it. Go to bed tired, wake up hungry. It all goes to zero at midnight. That's another way to monetize, right? That's another way to make money. Okay, I'm looking for some pre-drive underwear. They won't let me sell that yet, but who knows? It's coming. Okay, it's coming. All right. Any other questions today? Has this been valuable for everybody? RJ, did you have a question? Because RJ, I know you. RJ is one of our members at the Greatness Factory. And where do you think you want to get better at this packaging of a message?
Where I think I want to get better is actually when I go in to make the deal being more actionable on the commitment part, the obligation that you talk about. So it seems like I've got the packaging and the marketing aspect. It's getting it in and getting that monetization piece that you talk about.
Yeah. And what you may do there is you just may put it into packages. Okay, there's 3 ways to work with me. I like giving people options. There's 3 options to work with me. Option A, option B, option C. Because if you don't do that, like today I was doing these calls with these people, and it's like they don't know what to tell me. They don't know how they want to engage with me. So if I don't say, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a retainer fee of this amount plus a percentage of the increase. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? You see where I'm going? And all they can do, RJ, at that point is go, no, I'm not interested in this. Like a guy pitched me a deal this morning, and I said, it's not a good deal for me, man. I'm not doing it. I love you. I like you as a person, but I do not see the win in this for me. I see a win in this for you. Okay. And he come back and said, completely understand. I said, if you're open to changing the deal, I'm open to doing a deal, but I'm not open under the current circumstances. So I think with you, RJ, you got this brilliance about you. Now it's like, okay, how do I package it? And how do I say there's really 3 ways you can work with me, right? Now, which of the 3 do you like the most? Does that help you?
It does. It does a lot, Coach. Thank you.
And it's priced, it's like the option A. I like giving people a high option, medium option, and low option. If you're ready for the big boy or big girl level, it's $25K. If you're ready for getting started with me, it's 90 days, $5,500. If you're just getting started, I respect that because I was a basketball coach making $2,500 a month. I got a $997. Which of these options would you like to do? But I cannot help you until you take an action. Okay.
That's I was working on this morning. I appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah. The Houston event is a full day with me for $997, and I'll be there on Thursday. And it's at Matt Bryce's Federal American Grill. So can either Jana or Kelly, you guys make sure that person who was just on here has that information. Because I'm looking for people in Houston, Texas. 6 million people in Houston, Texas, folks. Surely to goodness we could find some players. Okay. All right. So I want to say this. I really enjoyed this today, guys. Thank you for bringing it out, being with me for an hour. I do believe everybody needs a coach in life. I'm honored that many of you are in my coaching programs, and that means the world to me. I know there's a lot of people out there that you could choose from, and it means a lot. I was just in Philly not long ago, and I'm going back to Philly here at some point in October to work with Travis. So listen, do a strategy call, okay? Get your strategy call in. Tell your coach, this is what I'm trying to do. Let me help you move from A to B. And if at the end of our time, you'll have a lot of clarity. I promise you. You'll be thinking increase, okay? You'll be thinking increase when I'm done with you. And I'm a very tactical person. So thank you for a great day. We will send the replay out so you can watch the replay again. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you some point in the future. Okay. God bless you guys. Thank you very much.